Okay, we're going to begin. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. This is KUNR Public Radio and the Nevada Independence Sparks Candidate Forum. My name is Lucia Starbuck, and I'm the democracy reporter for KUNR Public Radio. I'll be moderating the discussion tonight with my colleague, Carly Savageau with the Nevada Independent. Just to go over timeline, this event will last about an hour and a half. For the next hour, Carly and I are going to be moderating, asking the candidates questions. We're going to go into a lightning round with yes or no questions. And then for about 30 minutes, we're going to collect those index cards and do audience questions. From 7:30 to 8, we are going to try to pack up and be out of this room by 8 p.m. A huge shout out to the Sparks Library for allowing us to use this space. We'll just make sure to get out by 8. Like Carly said, we'll have those index cards at the back table if you want to write your questions as the forum is going on. The library is closed, but you can still use the restrooms or the water fountain out there. You can also go in and out of that emergency exit door right there. We're super excited to hear from the candidates. Thanks for coming. As a reminder, this is a forum, not a debate. So, take the time to talk about yourself, your own solutions, ideas. Avoid talking about your opponent. A few ground rules, please refrain from using harmful or derogatory language. Be mindful of the time you're given for your questions. Don't interrupt each other. Speak for yourself about your own experiences. Be respectful and civil, please. We're super excited, all 6 of you. Thanks so much for coming. And then I'm going to pass it to Brian Dugan, the KUNR's general manager, for a few words.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming tonight. This event was made possible by our great partnership with the Nevada Independent. So your support tonight means a lot to us. Nonprofit journalism means a lot to all of us. So thank you for coming. So thank you. And thank you all for coming too.
Did I forget anything? No, okay. Okay, so we're gonna get into our questions. So for these questions, you're either gonna have 1 minute or 2 minutes to answer. We're gonna be super strict about your time. So when we're at 30 seconds, we're gonna hold up a yellow piece of paper as a warning. At your time, we're gonna hold up this red piece of paper. If you're finishing your thought, that's fine. If you take a breath and start to talk, I will mute you. Sorry, but it must be done. Okay. Okay, and all right, so I'm gonna get into our first question. Number 1, you're gonna have 1 minute to answer. Please state your name, occupation, a little bit about yourself, which position you're running for, and why. You will have 1 minute. And I'm gonna be unmuting and muting the mics, so let's... you're gonna use mic between the two of you, you're gonna be sharing.
Okay, so we don't have to pick the mic up.
It's going to pick up where it's pointing at. So, if you do want to adjust it a little bit, we'll let you know if we can't hear you super well. But it is going to pick up wherever it's pointing at. So, you can rotate it a little bit. Okay. So, for that first question, let's start. Let's start with order. Let's start with you, Damon.
Sure. My name is Damon Harrell. I'm a father of 2. Been married for 20 years. Been a resident of Sparks for about 14 and a half. And I'm running for city council in Ward 4. Frankly, I'm kind of a single issue candidate because everything I do for my 2 boys. And so that's my issue, is trying to make the world a better place for my 2 sons. I believe if you're going to change the world, you got to start at home here in the community. And so that's why I'm running for city council.
And then Charlene.
Hi there, I'm Charlene Bybee, and I'm the current Ward 4 representative. I have been in office 8 years. I'm also mayor pro tem, and I have lived 58 out of my 68 years here in the city of Sparks, raised my 2 boys here, really involved in the community, lots of volunteer, over 40 years of volunteerism, a variety of United Way, women's athletics at the university, Junior League, PTA. I was PTA, asked my husband, I was PTA forever, and really involved in my kids as they were growing up. So I'm running because I have work to do, and I would like to continue on the council, have a great team, and I have a lot more that I would like to do for the city. So that's why I'm running.
And I'm Chris Garvey, and I'm running for Sparks City Mayor. I'm a dental hygienist, but I also have had experience in mental health and disabilities and also in real estate. I was born and raised here. I'm married for 42 years to my husband, Tom, and we've had 3 children and 4 fabulous grandchildren. Now, the reason I want to be part of the governance for the city is I grew up here. This is where I became a young woman and started to really have that sense of community. And I've noticed that we're losing that. And I was afraid of where our city was going. So for me, it was getting personal. And I thought, you know what? This is where the rubber meets the road. If you're actually going to do something, you have to get involved. And if you can't work from outside, then I guess you have to put your hat in the ring and work from inside.
Thank you. I'm Ed Lawson. I'm currently the mayor. I've been on the city council since 2010 as mayor for the last 2 years after Ron Smith's passing, as I was the mayor pro tem at that time. So by law, I have to run this time to become mayor again. I'm married for 39 years to my bride that I met in college when we were 19 years old. Raised 2 boys here. Both of them graduated from UNR. Both of them graduated around the time that the Great Recession hit, so we lost a generation of kids. And I'm afraid that we're doing the same thing again. You know, we are graduating kids from UNR, and they're not able to stay here because of housing prices. So housing and affordable housing and workforce housing and subsidized housing is number 1 on my list.
Hi, my name is Johnny Eastwick. I moved to Sparks in 1998 to join the Nevada Air National Guard, where I did 12 years and 3 tours. I got out of the military to focus on my company and my business, downtown Sparks, the Victorian Saloon. And a big reason that I'm running is because I'm a small business owner, and I have concerns about the small business owners in the city. And I'm looking forward to helping out.
Good evening. I'm Diane Vanderwell, and I have lived in the city of Sparks. I grew up in Sparks. As a matter of fact, my husband and I purchased the home I grew up in 2015. Been married for 33 years. I have 3 children, and I have 2 granddaughters. I am running because I want to serve our neighborhoods. I want to make sure that we have clean, safe, affordable places for our families to grow and for small businesses to thrive.
All right, thank you. For the next question, you'll have 2 minutes to answer. Last year, Edon predicted Washoe County will run out of land to build on by 2027. How will you handle growth as Sparks runs out of easy-to-develop land, and how will you include affordable housing in those plans?
Start with Charlene.
And can we start with Charlene?
Okay, let me make sure I got the whole question. Running out of land is an issue that we all know how much growth, and if any of us who've been here a long time know how much it's grown, especially since I was a little girl here, and even in the last 5 years, because we have a housing crunch. We've got a lot of, the good news is, and I was on the Edon board for 6 years, a lot of companies coming here, a lot of great paying jobs. With the pandemic, we were in a really great economic position because we had expanded our base for our economic base to not just be gaming and tourism anymore, but to have so many more logistics, manufacturing, tech jobs, so many things that that unfortunately bring a lot of people, fortunately, but unfortunately bring a lot of people here. I was also in regional planning, and we looked at, within the McCarran Loop, they looked at infill. So every parcel has been mapped out in the whole city, and you can see all the available parcels that some of us don't even see when we're driving down the street, where housing could go. And in some of those you've seen today, there are apartments, there are tiny homes, there's duplexes being built. So infill is one way to expand our housing. The farther out we go, the more expensive your infrastructure is. So if we keep going out, I just came down Pyramid, farther north, which is our only direction, it costs more to get the infrastructure out there. So the other option besides infill is really looking at the mayor's land. I call it the mayor's because he's been selling it to the whole community. The land spill, which is the eastern side, just east of Sparks, way up on the hill, to develop that and bring the warehousing that's down in the River District up there, and possibly housing with that as well, and a connector road that runs from the Tahoe Regional Industrial Center to La Posada, so another outlet in and out, and housing that could go along with that too. So a couple options.
And then we'll go down the row, so go, Chris.
Great. So I think when you're looking at a community, any community, you have to look at the balance. Yeah, we're growing and jobs are great. Not all of them are holding up to that level of income that allows people to actually have a place to live. And we're really behind the 8 ball when it comes to that. Now, EDON, their study in that kind of served the people that asked for it. So you have to take some of that with a grain of salt. Developers want the best deal for their land and that. And that lands bill, that's exactly what that is. That's a way for developers to be able to get a lot of land that's a lot easier to develop and a lot cheaper for them. Has that equaled affordable housing? Not really. In fact, Sparks has the same amount of affordable housing for low income as it did a year ago. And we have less than we did 6 or 7 years ago. So we have to be more strategic about how are we going to address the needs, that middle gap housing where it's not really low income, but it's not really high expensive and that. And we have to really listen to the people that live here. If you develop it to the point where nobody has a quality of life, what's the point? And that. So I think we have to really think about what are we going to do to make sure that we're not just chasing our tail with development? Because it winds up being death by 1,000 cuts. And we're either going to put everybody in a dense high-rise downtown where the crime's already out of control, or we're going to put a bunch of houses and lop all the tops off our hills, and nobody can go out there and enjoy that anymore. And our infrastructure is never going to be able to be caught up for that because we're in the hole already. So I think we need to be wise about our resources and honest with our people that live here now.
Thank you. So for the last 20 plus months, I've been given what I call the vision speech for Sparks. And what it includes is moving the industrial off of the river and putting people down there. A lot of us don't realize that between I-80 and the river, less than 100 people live in that entire section. Now, every city in America would love to have a river run through it. Ours has tilt-up concrete on it. So I think it's important that we put people down there to enjoy this river. And that's a quality of life thing. The other is you can see if by density, high-density city centers is what we've done in the downtown area. There'll be 5,000 people living down there that creates its own vibe. And it's more of an entertainment district. So with the Nuggets Outdoor Amphitheater and the movie theater and the restaurants and Mr. Eastwick's business down there, it's a place where you can actually go park, walk around and enjoy the entire offerings for that particular area. We're looking at Audi Boulevard as a city center and then obviously along the river as a city center. But the Audi district, I think, is a big deal. Audi connects to Wells. That happens to be where our Hispanic population is for Reno and Sparks. It's a perfect connector between the two. You see that we have a complete street road going in right now where you'll be able to ride your bicycle from Pyramid all the way over to Wells Avenue. So I think that helps with all that too. So I think there is strategic growth in there. And the area east of Sparks will be strictly industrial until we can afford to do it. But we also have another problem with our sewer plant, and we're going to put a sewer plant out there too to take the pressure off of this existing one.
All right, I love the idea of the infill developing. Why build new properties? Why build new stuff on the outskirts of town when we have plenty of places in town that can get cleaned up, worked on, create jobs in that realm? Also, I like the property that's going to be selling east of Sparks. It's supposed to go to the highest bidder, so it won't be developers getting cheap land. It's supposed to go to the highest builder, which I'm a huge fan of, because the developers in the past and Sparks, a lot of times have been given properties for free to build on, and I don't see why we need to give rich people free property. They can pay for it too, So that's my thoughts on that.
Thank you. Part of my background is I've spent over 36 years in mortgage lending and a little over 8 years as a licensed real estate agent. I also spent 8 years on the Washoe County Planning Commission and 4 years on the Sparks Planning Commission. What I like about Sparks is the innovative ways that we have thought to do other things. We've done adaptive reuse so there was a skilled nursing facility on Audie Boulevard. So instead of leaving that as a skilled nursing facility and vacant, we had a developer come in and turn it into housing. And then I'd also like to share that I had a meeting with the Culinary Union, and the Culinary Union is doing an initiative for the state of Nevada called Neighborhood Stability. And the reason is because of the rising costs of not only housing, but also rents. And the reason that is happening is we've allowed Wall Street to come in and purchase up our properties. So that, unfortunately, is above our city council pay grade, but hopefully in working together with state legislatures and hopefully our federal, we can get some of those properties freed up from being full-time rentals for corporations and allow more housing to hit the market so people that want to buy and live here can.
Yeah, I'm pro-growth. I'm a believer that if you're not growing, you're likely shrinking, right? I grew up in a rural, absolutely. I grew up in a rural town in Eastern Oregon that, when I was growing up there, was about 11,000 people. It's all the way up to about 13,000 people now. I'm okay with growth. I'm a little concerned about hypergrowth. Really concerned about hypergrowth as a means to just develop a new tax base. Because I believe that anytime we make a decision about growth, that decision needs to be based from the perspective of the existing Sparks residents, not the next 20,000, but the existing 100,000 that are here. We have to protect our way of life. Sparks is different. It's not Reno. It's not Story County. It's different, and I love the town. That's why I moved here and why I stayed here. But there's lots of good ideas out there, and my biggest concern is overgrowing a town just to protect the tax base. We need to sit with our constituents, the city, invite people in to talk and find out people, not other businesses, the people, the voters, the people that pay the bill, and find out what's the most important thing to you that we need to protect, and then have a real conversation about how we're going to spend our most limited resource, which is money.
Okay, for our next question, last week the air quality in Reno Sparks was unhealthy for an entire week. How do you propose to protect vulnerable residents, unhoused community members, and people working outside from the heat and smoke? Chris, we'll start with you.
Well, I guess we could bring back Smokey the Bear, right? and some personal responsibility on outdoor wilderness fire use and that. But literally, when you look at the air quality, the fires have been a really big impact here. And I'm sure that we have all paid the cost through more hospital visits for our children and our elderly and those with asthma and that. But we need to be also looking at what are we doing to make sure that we keep the trees and all the vegetation that helps with that air quality. There are so many properties in Sparks that have been kind of neglected, and they're having a lot of their trees and shrubbery die, and that's linked to the cost of the water and that. So we need to start having a conversation. A lot of these properties are rentals where the tenant doesn't have that investment in there, and the landlord isn't really forcing the issue, unless you live in a more affluent neighborhood where it's written into the lease. We also need to be able to look at how are we looking at filtration systems and that for our public buildings, make sure those are healthy and that, so that there are areas where people can go when the air is really, really bad. You know, especially for those seniors and individuals that don't have the luxury of an air conditioner. There's many homes in Sparks still that have no air conditioning, and the only fresh air and cool air that you get is when you open the window. So we have to look at all those things. Hopefully, we're working at a higher level to make sure that those fire safety issues are being addressed, and we're starting to look at how we can be better managers of our wildlife areas. So.
Thank you.
Sorry,
It's all right.
little bump there.
So, obviously, we can't do anything about California's wildfires. A strongly worded letter to Gavin Newsom will probably fall on deaf ears. So we have to take care of ourselves. We're going to have to just put up with what it is until there's the pain in California is enough where they make a change. Obviously, we can't tell them what to do. And, you know, quite frankly, last summer was horrendous. This summer was not as bad, I mean, by all measures. But the thing that we're not addressing is the rest of the year. And one of the things that we're not addressing is the pollution from the cars and the people that are driving their cars. So as part of this lands bill that's going east, we propose a road from La Posada to USA Parkway. Now, 50,000 people work out there in Story County. 80% of those people live with us in Reno and Sparks, north of I-80. So those 35,000 people are commuting every day from the North Valleys in Spanish Springs, Lemon Valley, instead down 395 and out I-80. So we did a study with Desert Research Institute. Sorry, kind of blank for a moment. If we just put 10,000 cars a day, we save 25 tons in carbon emissions every single day. So that, to me, that's responsible, smart growth, by just finding a shorter way to get to work for those folks that we're largely ignoring as a community that are living with us. So I think those kind of things, we have to rely on our health department. I mean, obviously, the city of Sparks does not have control over emissions from cars or air quality, but we have people in our council that sit on that board. So we have to be the leaders in that board, and I think we're moving in that direction to make some changes there.
Yeah, I think as far as like air quality goes, that's not going to be a Sparks City Council to the rescue kind of thing unless Ed and I grab an axe and a fire suit and go help out in California, which probably can't happen. But I think just being diligent about cleanup and taking care of dead trees and picking up in the woods, and well, it's best we can do is, as far as until we get to the border. So.
As a couple of people have said, City of Sparks Council, that is not really something that we can do as far as air quality. We do have to rely on our health department, and we do have a city councilman that does sit on the health department that helps voice our concerns for the city of Sparks. I do support the mayor with the fact of getting less cars on the roads so that we limit commute times, so we can eliminate our carbons there.
Yeah, I think I have to echo most everybody to my right there. There's not much we can do unless we're going to install a big fan on I-80 pointing back towards California. So where most of it comes from, and we've got some forest of our own in Nevada. But I do agree with the mayor that finding better ways of mitigating pollution is probably a good idea. An idea that's floated through my head before is a government maybe taking the lead in moving on to clean energy sources, right? As we remodel buildings or build new buildings, making them solar or wind powered or both. I would like to address kind of what the mayor said about the La Posada connector to I-80. As I was talking about before about growing responsibly for the people who already live here. I don't want 35,000 people driving through my backyard because I literally live 300 feet from La Posada. So I don't need 35,000 people driving from Pyramid out to I-80 to go to work. That's not my problem. I don't want to get on a highway to go to the grocery store. I hop on Lopside, I can get to St. Martin in 10 minutes, and I want it to remain that way. So that'd be my answer.
I will echo also. It's not something in the authority of the Sparks City Council to do, but as community members, which all of us are, and as electeds in our community, always looking for solutions. And I think you look at heat, you talked about heat and smoke, and our most vulnerable are our seniors. And so really as we look at what we can do personally, what different agencies can do, government, not just government, a lot of the social service agencies in assisting seniors. You look at the Washoe County Senior Service, and then we have a senior committee also distributes and asks for donations for fans in the summer for those who don't have air conditioning. So supporting things like fans for seniors, cooling centers. You hear that cooling center or a safe place to go. I'm on the RSCVA, so the convention center was used last summer for the evacuees from Tahoe. When they were all evacuated from South Lake Tahoe and Carson City filled up, they actually came down to Reno and we housed them with the Red Cross providing services. And so you kind of, I think, we look at more of those solutions, public-private, and ability to help in emergency situations, but even as we outreach to our neighbors, through our churches, through organizations that you work with that are outreaching to those most vulnerable, and all of us are in the smoke, obviously, and in the heat affects all of us as well. But I think as a community, we kind of look at what can we do together, and I think that can become a personal thing, not necessarily something that's city council.
All right, thank you. Your next question, you will have 2 minutes to answer. There are about 100 unfilled positions in the city. That's nearly a fifth of city staff positions open, with the largest vacancies in community service and Sparks Police Department. How will you retain and recruit city staff? And we will start with Ed Lawson.
Largely for the police department, we're already doing that. We started a program 2 years ago where we actually, during the unrest of what we had there prior to COVID, there's a lot of policemen didn't like where they worked. So we started advertising in their areas for lateral transfers. And I would say roughly half of the people that we get now on the Sparks Police Department are lateral transfers from other places. And you would think it might be from the Northwest, but it's actually a lot of police from Texas, which I was surprised by that statistic. So we're having husband and wives that come, are both police officers, are moving here with us. That program is working well. We've changed the way we hire firemen, and we used to have an opening period and then close it. We used to get hundreds and hundreds of applications for firemen. The last time we had a fireman posting, we got 30 applications and 20 of them couldn't pass background. So something's going on in that aspect. If you have grandkids or kids, they don't grow up and say, I want to be a policeman or a fireman or engineer for the city or anything. They want to be a YouTube star. They want to be, something else besides what it takes to run a city. So, we got to look at grooming those folks, which we have done through our outreach when we have a Sparks Day, and we bring out all the different facets of Sparks, the guys who keep the parks clean, the police, the fire, the bomb squad. I mean, every aspect it takes to run the city. The engineers, the sewer plant, the engineers, the chemical engineers. We have some very smart people out there. So we're looking at showing that to the community in hopes that we can find some younger people that say, that interests me, and maybe I'll pursue that. So I think we're getting innovative in the way we recruit rather than just stick an ad in a paper or a trade magazine, and we're actually getting out there and doing it. So I think it's working. We're seeing some people, I'll tell you, great example. We had 3, let me finish my thought. We had,
Sorry, you only have 2 minutes.
We had 3 officers.
We need to go to the next candidate.
I thought I got to finish my thought. Okay,
That's
fine. I'll finish it next time. Just remember 3.
As fast as the city is growing and the more people the influx of people, And if the amount of police officers and firefighters are going down, less per capita, it's a huge issue. Community outreach has to be the best way to do that. It's going to the schools, start getting to the kids young, also creating possible pay raise for those people that are taking those jobs. Give them a reason to go look for jobs like officers and firefighters. That's all I'm saying.
I work with the Building and Construction Trades Council with their apprenticeship program, so I'm the recruiter, and I go out in the community and I talk to young people and also community groups about just the importance of skilled trades. And the thing is I feel the city of Sparks does a great job recruiting. We have the best insurance out of all the 3 jurisdictions, but I will echo, like the mayor said, because I do spend time with young people, is they're more interested in being on Instagram or YouTube or something like that. So I think what needs to happen is we need to probably have shadow days where they come in and they see how we run our sewer plant or see how the police department runs or the fire department, and get our young people interested in those city jobs again.
The mayor, and I think he's right about kids wanting to be YouTube star. Fortunately, at least with my oldest, he either wants to be a professional baseball player or join the Army or be a police officer. So I feel like I'm doing something right at least. But Diane, I think you had some great ideas down there. I remember growing up again in that rural town that I grew up in. You would go on field trips, and you would go to the wastewater treatment plant, and you would go to an agricultural location and watch what they do and bale hay and all that stuff. So some of that is true and lots of good ideas. Part of our problem is unemployment rate looks like a nice magical number. However, the number they like to publish on the news isn't the real number. It doesn't include the labor participation rate. And so people right now, for some reason, don't want to go back to work. And I'm only one person, but I can only think about my working history. What drew me to jobs, and some of it's cash, some of it's your benefits, a lot of it's community, frankly. And we have a great one here in Sparks. And so I think all three, in my mind, all three of those combined are the solution. Is might have to find a way to raise some more funds or move some money around to pay more. And keeping our community a great place to live are huge.
We do have a lot of openings. I think last count I heard was 70 to 80 openings in the city. And we actually have been working, as the mayor mentioned, we've had events, Sparks Proud. We've had 2 Sparks Proud events. Last one was a couple weeks ago up at Hug High School. We've also had the music at the Marina and down on Rock Park. And music at the Marina, we have a couple tables set up, but the Sparks Proud events, we had every department represented. So we had in a fun family afternoon that the kids could check out the fire engines and the SWAT cars and the police horses and dogs. And it was a really great community fun event for families. Also had every department and what jobs we had available. So that, as well as social media. We've got a lot. We're on social media. Our public information officer, Julie Duell, does a tremendous job. So we are, you'll see us on all the formats, on Facebook, on Instagram. We have the city website. So really outreach so people know that there are jobs. As Councilwoman Vanderwell mentioned, we have the best benefits package. That is an incentive. And people who just they like the team, and really what we have is a culture at the city of Sparks. The city does itself, and those of us in city government do, that really feels like a family. And that's important because we hear officers. I talked to a couple police officers who wanted to transfer up from Vegas, and they interviewed with all the jurisdictions, and they just felt a fit in Sparks. And that is something by word of mouth we can help bring more people here, keep them here, and workforce training. We've got to do workforce training, and we've got to figure out why people aren't going back to work. And whether it's $6 a gallon for gas that gets people back, a friend today told me she does have people coming in, so that might be part of the solution. Thank you.
So it's always great to grow your next generation, but today's the day that we need those workers. We need to have people back in our police force. We're 15 officers down, and we already have one of the minimum ratios of police officers to citizens. So we have to be more aggressive and more creative in our recruitment. And what I've always found is your best recruiters are the people that already work for you. If they're happy and if they love where they live and where they work, they're going to pull in everybody they know to come be with their family, and especially in the police officer world, because you want somebody that has your back when you're doing that. The other thing is we need to, as a city, be looking into the future. What does our current workforce look like? How many people are getting close to retirement? Should we be looking at where we're going to be having gaps within our own structure? And how do we cross-train people who maybe are at an entry-level job that have interest in becoming the next level up, so that we can start promoting them from within and allowing that ability for maybe entry-level workers to come to our ranks instead of somebody who's highly trained already. We can kind of cultivate that from within. We also need to be communicating with our different agencies, whether that's the trades or with our schools and that, so that we can entice those kids and get them thinking about it in middle school, not high school, middle school, because that's when children start identifying with what they think they might be interested in. And so we want to get them on a pathway so that they can start acquiring skills that will help them within the workforce too. That was perfect.
Okay, so for this next question, last summer, Nevada saw some of the most intense periods of drought in the last 20 years. Do you think the city is currently doing a good job managing its water resources? What could they do to improve its water management? And what other things could Sparks be doing to be more environmentally sustainable? John, we'll start with you.
Okay. I think it's important that County, Reno, and Sparks work together on the water issue. I was driving out Pyramid Highway today, and not one of the new developments out there is zero-scaped. And there's about 500 homes going in there out by Cayo de la Plata, and each home has 2,000 square feet of lawn, which is like probably 1 million square feet of lawn out there, and that's a huge issue. I think we should take a page out of Arizona's book and Las Vegas's book, and new development should be zero-scaped. I think that would be huge for our city.
The city of Sparks, in our parks and golf courses, we do use affluent water, so we're not using up our regular water resources. I know that some new construction also puts in purple pipe to water their lawns, so that is also a way for us to conserve. And we've looked at other ways at the city to make sure that our water consumption is not as high as everybody else.
First, I think city needs to lead from the front, and I'm not saying they don't. I haven't necessarily paid attention to their landscaping, but zero-scaping for the city would be great. As Diane said, using affluent water anytime you can where it's not a safety issue for somebody. And I probably drank worse, I ain't gonna lie, than what you find in the affluent water. It's actually treated, it's just not fully treated. All great ideas. Go back to what I was discussing earlier about maybe going solar to make us, use less energy. I understand that our water is managed fairly well. I believe Councilman Dare is on the Truckee Meadows Water Authority Council, and conversation with him, he said we're not in need now. Not that we never would be, but it's being managed very well and planned for the growth that's already planned.
And drought has been, we all know, an issue for many years in the West, really all the western states. Can you think of what years we really had like a huge amount of snowfall, and probably when my boys were in high school, when we really had big water years, and we haven't. And so I think, when I think of your watering days, excuse me, that you have certain days you can water. I mean, way back for those of us that are old enough to remember when there wasn't any, and there weren't people checking, see if the water's going off the curb. I mean, we've really become, as a community in the last 20 years for sure, more conscientious about our water use, and we're on meters, most of us, so we're thinking about how we're using water. We, in our parks in recent years, we've removed grass because the water reasons and cost for maintenance. So really for the city, if we have a lot of lawn and lawn that's hard to mow and not enough workers to get that mowed, it's two problems. It's the use of water for the grass, and it's also the maintenance to upkeep it. So we've already been doing that and continue to do so, to look for opportunities where we can make it more efficient. The boards that oversee the water, TUMWA, and the flood board. I don't sit on those, but we have representatives, so they bring Sparks Voice, and they bring the information to us too on water management. We also, there's other environmentally friendly energy sources here, and not in Sparks, but in our region, we've got geothermal. And that geothermal that was down by the pepper mill was there when I was in college. So there is geothermal that the pepper mill actually operates on in our region, solar, wind, but it's not going to, we're not where we can solely depend on that for now, but it is an addition to what we have and what we use. Thank you.
So I think it's like everything else in life. It has to be a balance, because if you take out all the vegetation so that you're saving water and replace it with rock, now you have Reno staying the hottest increasing city in the nation. Right now we are the city that has had the most increase in our temperature. And so we need to have that balance where we're being smart about the type of vegetation that we're encouraging people to put into their yards and to keep healthy in that. Because you don't want everything to die, because then that affects your air quality with all the dust and pollutants and that, and it increases the heat, like I said. And so that needs to be one of those things that we help educate our community on. We talk about strongly with any developers as they develop new properties and developments, and also within our own buildings and properties that we own. What are we doing to make sure that we are good stewards too? And are the toilets and sinks and all of that up to date? Are we replacing them with water efficient models? And a lot of homes in Sparks are older too. So are we going after grants and other federal dollars that could help residents upgrade those things that are big water users within their own homes and that? So you want to have to tackle it from many different ways, because sustainability of a city is only as good as what people use. So if you put everybody on a bus, but nobody uses the bus, what good is that? And if you say nobody can have grass anymore and everything dies, and now the city is hotter and dustier, and what good is that? And you have no quality of life. So it has to be a balance. We have to be smart about it, and we have to look at how we can help citizens make the right choices.
So the issue about water is, it was about 20-something years ago that we formed TUMWA, which is Truckee Meadows Water Authority, and gave them the power to monitor and provide water for our community. That includes Washoe County, Sparks, and Reno. They've done an excellent job. They ran a drought study about 4 or 5 years ago. They ran the worst drought, 8 years of drought, back to back to back to back for 20 plus years. We don't run out of water. So our water in is okay. They've taken the measurements, as you know, everybody has a watering day. You just can't go and water. If you're watering the pavement and the street, you're going to see a Tumwa official come to your house and help you out with that. If your grass is overwatering and it's flowing down the curb and into the gutter, they're going to come and visit you. So I think they do a great job. What a lot of people don't know is that we've bought more water in just like the last 6 years. We now own all of Donner Lake. So we could practically drain Donner Lake down to nothing. That's because we own it all. So we, at one point, only owned the top half of it, which I don't know how you measure the top half of a lake, so don't ask me. That's for smarter people than I. But we own about 7 different lakes in California that feed us because we're required to put X amount of water down the Truckee River every single day that flows into Pyramid Lake. So water is a big deal. The old saying is whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting. That's the truth around here.
All right, thank you. So for our last question, which you'll get 1 minute to answer, please make any final or closing comments and take this time to explain why you chose to run and what main issue you would like to tackle first if elected or re-elected. And we will start with Diane.
Thank you. I've had the honor to be appointed to the seat and serve for the last 2 years. And the reason that I am running is because I do want to represent our neighborhoods, and I do want to make sure that we have clean, safe, affordable places for our families to live and for small businesses to thrive.
Sorry about that. Thank you. I think as we go down the line here, you're going to hear some pretty impressive governmental resumes. My resume includes being a Little League coach and a board member for Centennial Little League, a youth basketball coach, and I'm currently a member of the Spanish Springs Booster Club. My resume is that I'm not a politician and I'm not in politics, and I want to do things just a little bit different around here.
Even though I've been on office for 8 years, I don't really consider myself a politician. I consider myself someone who cares about this community, who's given 40 years of volunteer service throughout the time I've been here and raised my children here. And the longer you serve on a council, you learn. The first 2 years, you're really learning. I mean, it's a steep learning curve. And then you get enough knowledge where you're able, importance of having the boards and commissions we all serve on, and then getting leadership positions on those, is that you are giving Sparks a louder voice. So that is really the purpose when you get to those positions that I'm in. It's a louder voice for Sparks, so we can speak louder for you so that they don't forget about us, because the other city sometimes tends to.
So for me, like I said, it became personal. I got into this race because my neighbor's home was set on fire by individuals that were identified as homeless. And nothing happened with it. And it took 175 days for all the questions I had to be answered by the city manager. And that wasn't the Sparks that I grew up with. The Sparks I grew up with, you could call the leaders. You could sit down in their living room and have a discussion. And so I want to get back to that. I want to be able to be more transparent, more accessible, and be able to actually have our city be safe. I should not have to worry about my mother being shot at Rayleigh's when she goes grocery shopping. Sorry.
Thank you. So the reason why I'm running is obviously I'm a public servant. I'm not a politician. I'm a public servant. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I truly believe and love this community. As I said, I raised my kids here. My wife is here. I mean, we volunteer. We do a lot of things in the community. Always have. I just happened to go by the park over here, and I just had fond memories of coaching football with my boys over there. You know, that kind of stuff, those are great memories for me. I wanted to pass that on to the next generation. One of the things we always pride ourselves on at the Sparks City Council is we are a family-oriented community. We make decisions through that lens. Is this good for families? And if it's not good for the family, it's probably not going to happen.
I've been wanting to run for city council for quite some time. My mentor, Phil Salerno, was Ward 2 City Councilman for 16 years. And so I've been picking his brain for about 15 years. The reason that I'm going ahead with this is because as a small business owner, sometimes I don't feel represented. And my neighbors downtown Sparks don't feel represented by the city. We see time and time again, the city will bend over backwards for the nugget, bend over backwards for the developers, and sometimes we feel like we get put off to the side, and it's not okay. And I'm tired of it, and my neighbors are tired of it, and I'm gonna represent them when I'm on that board.
Thank you so much for giving your final comments. We're going to move into something a little bit differently now, and if you have an index card, make sure to raise it up high so Brian can come around and collect it. Okay, so for this next lightning round, there's going to be no audio. It's going to be yes or no questions. So raise your hand if yes, leave it down if no. If you don't want to answer, go ahead and fold your arms across your chest, just so we can be clear that your arms aren't just down. Okay, and so for this first question, raise your hand if yes. Is the current city council fulfilling the needs of the community? Okay.
Do you expect a different answer?
You never know. Do you support the Truckee Meadows lands bill? Just for a little bit of context, that would allow development on nearby federal lands. Yes, raise your hand if yes. Okay. For these next questions, these are, not necessarily things that city council can control, but these are questions that are on the minds of voters. They're more national issues, but we do think it would be helpful for voters to get an idea of how their representatives feel about some of these national issues. So for this next question, do you believe in stricter gun laws than the current Nevada laws in place? Raise your hands if yes. Do you want to see stricter gun laws? Okay. This next question, raise your hand if yes. Do you believe Joe Biden is the President of the United States? We just wanted to check in with you guys. And this will be our last question. Do you agree with the Nevada Constitution that guarantees the right to an abortion up to 24 weeks? Raise your hand if yes. Okay, thank you. Thanks for participating in that. We just thought that'd be fun to get an idea of where you guys stand on some of these issues. Now Carly's going to read some of our audience questions.
So like Lucia said, I'm going to be reading some questions from the audience. You will have 30 seconds to answer the questions. So we'll get started. We'll start with Damon and go down for this one. Will the proposed corridor from the new housing development destroy wildlands currently used by horses and other wildlife?
You talking about what the mayor was talking about from Lopsada out to I-80? Likely. The people that manage wildlife out there do a pretty good job of it. I actually know some of them. So we'll probably be able to help them. My bigger concern would be destroying the way of life for the people that live out there.
I don't think it will, because for this process to work with the BLM, we're working with environmental groups. There's actually a culturally sensitive area of petroglyphs there that needs to be protected, and we know about that. Want to incorporate it into maybe an educational place that we can use for kids.
Well, unfortunately, we really don't know, because most of the decision-making is being kind of behind closed doors with Senator Rosen and city leaders. So I do know that in Southern Nevada, what has happened is you see a lot more houses and a lot less protection than what was talked about when they actually said, oh no, this is going to be good for the environment and we'll have all these protected areas. And unfortunately, when you open up the doors to a protected area, not everybody that goes there cares about it as much as the people that have to hike in.
I think what we've taken precautions in this lands bill. Number one, we've met with the wildlife organizations. We've tracked the deer population and how they cross. They don't generally cross I-80, so the antelope would have places. They're looking at ways to have bridges where either the animals can go over or below, like we do in eastern Nevada. So, and of course, the area of environmental concern has always been there. It's been our idea with the Indian tribe to turn that into a learning center and really celebrate the fact that natives were here first.
I'm not on the board, so I really don't have the data about that. I wouldn't like to pretend like I know about the wildlife out there at this moment, but I'm looking forward to tackling those subjects when I get elected.
I'm going to agree with Councilwoman Bybee and the mayor. We've done testing of the environmentally safe lands and things like that. So we won't go forward if we need to put in further protections.
Great, thank you. And then we'll also have 30 seconds to answer this. What, if any, are your plans to maintain and improve the parks and the path along the Truckee River?
Yes, Charlene. Okay. One of the biggest things that's helped us along the Truckee River is our HOPE team, which is our officers that work with the homeless. And they are, one by one, connecting with them sometimes 30 times before that homeless person will accept services or go to the CARES campus. So really to clean up the river, it's been Public Works doing a ton of work, but it's been our officers down there getting crime and getting the homeless and finding them a place to go. So that's been number one.
I think that has to be it. Safety. If you can have a beautiful walkway along the river, people go downtown Reno, and if it's not safe, and if it's being infiltrated with people that panhandle very heavily and you don't feel safe, you're not going to utilize it. So safety has to be number one. And we have to be able to give our parks back to our children. This summer, right down the street from me, Deer Park, all the children that go to that swimming pool to swim had to do it 20 feet from individuals that fled that park and openly used drugs. Smoking crack, cocaine.
So, obviously, when you have people in an area, that polices itself, and we'll see that as we bring more people down to the river and have housing down there. Yeah, that path will become much more safe. Right now, it's as safe as it's ever been in my life. I continue to ride it with my bicycle with Councilman Abbott quite often, and you don't see a homeless issue on the river any longer.
I like the idea of the lands bill money going down to dump into the Riverwalk area. I think that's great. But I do think we need to be much stricter on the homeless situation down there. I think that it is an issue.
I'm going to echo what the mayor said. My husband and I ride from Rock Park to the end. And prior to the HOPE team being implemented, there were tons of homeless camps. And Public Works has done a great job in cleaning up along the river. So we do feel safe now going down there and riding every morning. And there are no homeless camps down there.
Yeah, Councilwoman Bybee was right when she gave so much praise to the HOPE team, the Sparks PD. They are an amazing small group. Is there still just three of them that do them? Three or four?
And we're adding another.
That do the work. They're an amazing group. I think to make something like the mayor wants to do down there with the Riverwalk and the residential and retail growth down there, I think it's going to take some expansion in our police force in order to make that someplace that people want to go. Not just at 2 o'clock to ride a bike, but at 7 o'clock to have a dinner.
All right, we're going to start with Chris for this one. What's one thing the city of Reno or county could do to make Sparks perfect?
To make it perfect. Well, I think we need to work together to start looking at our safety and also how our resources are being used. Because anytime resources are pulled away from the county by different things that have to happen, that means there's less coming to Sparks. So there has to be collaboration and a vision where everyone's benefit is looked at, not just Washoe County or Reno. A lot of times we're third in line, so we have to be able to have that full seat at the table. Sorry.
Well, we have roughly 50-something boards that we all serve on with Reno, Sparks, and Washoe County. We have to collaborate with each other on many issues, from gang units all the way to homeless issues. The thing that would make it easier for us if Reno and Washoe County work together better.
Yeah, I think, I
Laugh, Bob. That's true.
I don't know, I feel like there is a separation between Reno and Sparks, not just the government, but even the citizens. I think that Reno and Sparks working together more would be highly beneficial for both cities.
I think what's beneficial is we do all serve and collaborate with the other two jurisdictions, and I have to agree with the mayor. I think that we all just need to work better together.
Well, with the risk of alienating some voters, making Sparks great again. Honestly, hearing all these people sitting here talking about the town they grew up in, and I didn't, get the opportunity to grow up here, but making it that town, right? Making it where you're okay with your kid jumping on his bike and riding to the park, staying out till the street lights come on, and just being kids, making a safe place to live.
Actually, I already think we are the greatest of the three. So, we hear that all the time. We hear it from businesses, we hear it from families, and once you come to Sparks, your roots go deep, whether you've been here 2 years or 58 years like I have been. I think there's just a pride. People are Sparks proud, and the culture of our city is that way, and I think we are already great. And we do have to work with the other two jurisdictions because we live in a big bowl, and everything we do affects each other, but I think we're already the best of the three for sure.
All right, so we'll start with Ed Lawson for this one. How do you plan to help small businesses in the community?
I don't know that there's no direct aid or anything. We've been doing it since I got on the council, is we're making it easier to get a business license and do business with the city of Sparks. We evaluate our ordinances every 4 years, and we take out the ones that are obsolete, and we put in the ones that make us more efficient.
I would start by actually paying attention to the small business owners, because some people up here say that happens, but it doesn't. And I know that because I'm one of them, and I talk to them often. And when I get elected, we will be paying attention to the small business owners much more.
As far as small businesses, I do feel that we do make it easy in the city of Sparks to do business in the city of Sparks. We have sat down with businesses before that maybe they're having difficulty getting open or things like that. And we'll sit down and we find a way to say yes so that we can get it done.
I touched on it earlier, right? Every decision I believe that the city council makes should come from the perspective of helping the existing citizens of Sparks. When I moved here 14 years ago, I loved Victorian Square and everything that would go on down there. And over the 14 years, it's turned away from the small business and turned into the Nuggets playground. And now I am not comfortable taking my kid down to, not because it's unsafe, it's just crowded for the fireworks or the rib cook-off. So I think making small business the primary rather than secondary is important.
I don't think it can be emphasized enough how important small businesses are. They drive the economy in this whole country, not just in the city of Sparks. So small businesses absolutely are essential. I think we do a really good job with them. Like Diane said, our motto is to find a way to yes. If they come in and there's issues, we try to find the way to yes. But can we always do better? Absolutely. And so can we find new ways and new ways of working with our businesses and communicating with them? Absolutely.
Well, I think we have to start listening to our small businesses, and we have to start addressing the safety issues and the urban blight, because it doesn't matter how much someone loves your business. If it's dangerous or really uncomfortable to go down there, they'll stop using it. And small business is what drives our city and our economy. So we really need to let them do what they do best and have government enforce the codes, enforce the ordinances, and make sure that we are addressing urban blight.
As a retired deputy with 28 years of service, I can tell you that police will not live and raise a family in an area that they see is in decline. The other reason is a lack of support by city and county government for police and soft on crime politics. What will you do to address these issues? Ed, we'll start with you.
I don't think that we're soft on crime. I don't see that. I think we do what we have to do. We support our police department and we recruit hard. We're a growing city. We're getting people that don't want to be police officers any longer. So it's just tougher to find those folks to get in there. But I think we've gotten creative and we support our police 150%. As you see, I wear the Sparks Police badge. I'm very proud to be a supporter.
I think mostly it just goes back to the subject we talked about earlier. We need to have more officers in. So we just need to recruit and figure out a solution to make that happen.
I'll say that the city of Sparks, that we do support our police, and we are in the process of recruiting. We've started by aligning to make sure that our requirements to become a police officer in the city of Sparks are the same as Washoe County and the city of Reno. So that will be opening up some more applicants for us.
I'm very pro-police. I don't want to say that like I'm into a militaristic future or something. Former Marine myself, and I understand the service they provide. I got the opportunity to go to the Citizens Police Academy, and frankly, if any of you have that opportunity, please take it. And you'll find that these are some of the most talented professional individuals you've ever run into. And I would hope that we would support them through not only their careers, but their retirement afterwards by continuing to create a place for them to live. That they want to live, I should say, not even the home.
I would disagree on us being soft on crime. I don't think we are at all. We have a new police chief that's been in 2 years, Chris Crawforth. Community policing is a new way of doing business, but a really effective way of doing business, especially post all the civil unrest that we saw a couple of years ago. So our community approach is working. We've never said we wanted to defund the police. Never been an option for me, and I don't think it has been for the rest of us on the council.
Well, whoever wrote that question, I totally agree with you. Police know where they want to have their families, and Sparks used to be that place. So what can we do? We can start talking to them. Is it the housing costs that are keeping them from coming here? Is it the morale? Do they feel like we're asking them to do an impossible job because we don't have enough support in numbers for them? Those are the things we need to be asking, because it is so important to have that within our community, and we used to have it.
All right, that's all of our community questions, and that is the end of our forum. Thank you all for coming. There's a table in the back. KUNR has a form to hear from voters. If you have questions about the midterm election, voting processes, issues you want to learn more about, please submit your questions through the QR code on the table in the back. We're going to start cleaning up for the next 30 minutes. If you'd like to chat with candidates, feel free to do so, but please make it brief because we have to be out of here by 8 p.m. And thank you all for coming.